Celtic had a better display in the Champions League this year, ultimately being eliminated by Bayern Munich. In this video, we will go over the potential twist in that competition that Celtic could face, all whilst going over all the latest Celtic news from the last 24 hours. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Celtic legend John Hartson believes Brendan Rodgers is fully committed to seeing out his current contract, but has urged the manager to address his long-term future during next season to avoid unnecessary distraction. Rodgers, who returned to Celtic 2 summers ago, has already guided the club to a league and cup double and now stands on the brink of a domestic treble, with the Scottish Cup final against Aberdeen still to come. But as speculation inevitably builds around his next move, Hartson warned that the uncertainty surrounding Rodgers' future could dominate headlines if left unaddressed. Rodgers has insisted he's committed to the job, stating he was 200% staying after securing the title. Still, Hartson believes a more formal declaration could help settle the narrative both inside and outside the club. This is what Hartson had to say. Brendan's come back. He'll certainly do the 3 years at the club with the contract that he signed. I think 1,000,000% he's in for next year. The issue you've got is the whole year Brendan will be asked, are you staying or are you going? He doesn't want that to affect the team. Brendan will be linked with big moves to Italy, Spain or wherever. But for everyone's sake, there needs to come a time at some stage next season where he comes out and tells people about his future. Because if he waits until the end of the season, everything is going to be dominated by what Rodgers is doing. Whether he does that, the club might want that as well. Let everyone know so they can start preparing. In an ideal world, he'd stay, and hopefully he'd stay for plenty more years. He seems very happy at Celtic. He's come back and he's won trophies again. He's got a tough game against Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup final, of course. But Brendan hoovers up trophies. That's what he does. He does what it says on the can. He's a winner, he concluded. How next season pans out will shape what Brendan Rodgers does with his future, you'd imagine. He'll be hoping to defend a treble and push on in Europe with some new players in the squad. But when his contract does expire, it will be 6 years at Celtic, which is a long time for any manager these days. He may well see his time as over and search for a new challenge. Now, for the main story, Celtic's Champions League qualifying path may have just become considerably tougher, with the club now no longer expected to be seeded in the playoff round of the competition. For months, projections suggested the Scottish champions would enter the final qualifying round as one of the top seeds. But new data has revealed that Dynamo Zagreb, Bodo Glimt, FC Copenhagen, Crvena Zvezda and Ferencvaros are currently ahead of the Hoops in UEFA coefficient standings, leaving Celtic on the outside looking in. In short, 2 of the following 6 scenarios must occur. Rijeka or Hajduk Split win the Croatian title ahead of Dinamo Zagreb, or Dinamo are eliminated in QR2. Crvena Zvezda are knocked out in QR2. Bodo Glimt win the Europa League. Midtjylland win the Danish title ahead of FC Copenhagen, or Copenhagen exit in QR2. Puskas Academia or PAX win the Hungarian League ahead of Ferencvaros, or Ferencvaros go out in QR2. Sturm Graz, Austria Wien or Wolfsberger AC win the Austrian Bundesliga instead of Salzburg, currently the most likely scenario at 80%. Without at least 2 of these outcomes falling Celtic's way, the club will face a potentially more dangerous opponent in the playoff round as an unseeded team. That could result in a matchup against one of the very sides listed above, complicating the road to the group stage. Celtic, of course, will enter the Champions League in the playoff round following their Premiership title win, with the path route already a pressure cooker. Now, the margin for error looks even slimmer. In other news, speculation surrounding former Celtic stars making a return to Parkhead has been rife since Brendan Rodgers returned to the dugout, with names like Christopher Ajer, Odsonne Edouard and Stuart Armstrong frequently mentioned. It's perhaps no surprise that talk has now turned to Kyogo Furashi. The Japanese striker departed Celtic in January for a high-profile move to League One, but things haven't gone according to plan. Since arriving in France, Kyogo has made just 1 league start and has now been left out of the matchday squad entirely for 3 consecutive games lately. It's a sharp contrast to his prolific spell at Celtic, where he scored 85 goals and became a fan favourite. Paul Slane admitted he'd love to see the forward back in green and white. "I'd do everything to get Kyogo back though," he said. Andy Halliday added, "The mad thing is there would be a chance as well. He's no playing at all," he said. While many assume Rodgers favours a more physical, taller, traditional number 9, Halliday pushed back on that idea, saying, "I think he'd take him back, don't you? You're saying he prefers a bigger guy up front. I don't think he does. I think he probably prefers Maida over Ida, doesn't he?" he concluded. Host C. Ferry questioned whether Kyogo would fit into Rodgers' current system, but the consensus was clear that a player of his quality, even if stylistically different, could still be a major asset. While a return may still seem unlikely, Kyogo's struggles abroad and the emotional pull of Celtic Park make the idea one that refuses to go away quietly. In other news, former Celtic striker Cillian Sheridan believes Daizen Maida's current form through the middle gives the club much-needed flexibility as they weigh up their transfer options this summer. With Jota ruled out for up to 9 months following an ACL injury sustained during the title-clinching win at Tannadice, there's been an expectation that Celtic would need to dip into the market for attacking reinforcements. But Sheridan says Maida's adaptability could allow the club to be more measured in their recruitment strategy. Speaking about Celtic's transfer window approach, Sheridan said this: Maida gives them a good option where Celtic can wait, and if a really good striker comes up or if a really good winger comes up, they can buy whatever one is the better option. Then they can make a decision. They can move Maida around, that kind of thing, he said. Maida has hit top form in recent weeks, scoring crucial goals and winning a hat-trick of honours at the club's Player of the Year awards. He's also just picked up a PFA Scotland Player of the Year award. With Adam Maida also finding form, scoring a few goals in recent weeks, and Kyogo having moved on in January, Celtic's forward line remains in a transitional phase. But Sheridan believes Maida's flexibility gives the club the ability to wait for the right signing rather than rushing into a move that may not fit long term. You'd hope Celtic have their homework done early, especially with Champions League qualifiers coming in August. Celtic will want players in early so they can settle in and get used to their surroundings instead of running around in deadline week. Rodgers has already made it clear that Celtic aren't looking to stand still as he tried to freshen up the squad. With Maida offering reliable cover through the middle and out wide, the club now have more room to get their summer business right. Lastly, the Glasgow derby is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, derbies in the world, as its name echoes across the footballing world with a legendary status. But on Sunday, as Celtic recorded a 1-1 draw against Rangers at Ibrox, that dead rubber topic was brought up. Celtic had the Premiership title wrapped up, and they travelled to their rivals' backyard to celebrate their 55th crown and 14th in their last 15 seasons. On top of that, unexpectedly, Celtic had lost the previous 2 Glasgow derby games, including on home soil, so there was even more intrigue to the match. But Chris Sutton threw it out there that this was a dead rubber, and it sparked an interesting reaction from Stiliyan Petrov. Stiliyan Petrov pushes back on Chris Sutton's dead rubber comments about Celtic and Rangers. Those years under Martin O'Neill were legendary, including that treble triumph, as Petrov and Sutton were 2 of the biggest names during that period. But despite Sutton suggesting that the recent derby game was a dead rubber, Petrov wanted to share what his former teammate was like leading up to these games. The legendary midfielder explained how Sutton was one of the biggest leaders in the dressing room, and he was the first to tell everyone about these types of matches. Petrov said, "I am going to go back to Chris Sutton, and I am going to disagree with him about dead rubber game. Chris was one of the biggest leaders in that dressing room. When games like that come, he is the first to push everybody else. He is there to win. It doesn't matter how many points you are ahead, who won the league, or how many cups you won previously. He is there to win it. He is one of the biggest characters." And he said, "Dead rubber? It's never a dead rubber and never will be," he concluded. It's pretty obvious that if Sutton was still playing now, then he wouldn't talk in such a manner, but everyone knows that he loves a wind-up. Since becoming a pundit, for whatever platform, he has enjoyed Celtic's dominance in Scotland and also rubbed it in the faces of Rangers. And leading up to the weekend match, that's exactly what he was doing to Chris Boyd. Sutton said, "How can you assess Rangers? It is a dead rubber." Boyd responded with, "There's no such thing as a dead rubber." Sutton replied, "It is a dead rubber. What can Rangers do? Close the gap to 14 points? Boyd said, "So you went into an Old Firm game thinking it was a dead rubber?" Sutton said this. "Well, I'll tell you the difference between Celtic and Rangers. I touched on this earlier. Mentality. I still speak to people about this. I still can't fathom that last-minute equaliser at Aberdeen. The Rangers bench erupted and celebrated like they did. That was the league finished that day. That is a complete loser's mentality there," he concluded. What are your thoughts on these? Let us know down in the comments section below. Make sure you've liked this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content.